Afternoon, everyone. Mosdog here. Just a quick look at some of the monsters in the Kruleboyz army and comparing their relative damage to each other. I should also probably include damage per point, but I don't think I need to do that. So just quickly to show how I got the numbers that I did, I used this website. So this is 40k.ghostlords.com. It's a dice calculator for 40k and Age of Sigmar. I included no buffs, so like no Swamp Call Shaman buff, no all-out attack, nothing like that. The only time I changed any of the numbers from what they say on the profile themselves is if you are getting them from the War Scroll itself. So for example, Nashtooth on the charge gets +1 to hit, so that is included in the math. There's also no Sludge Raker buff, nothing like that. Right, and then the Venom Encrusted Weapons applies to wherever it applies. And for the defensive stats, I always chose a 4-up save. For me, that's just what I like to use. I just like to use a 4-up save for everybody, like all the time, to get my numbers. So there's lots of different ways that you could do this math, and I know that changing the save is going to change how good like different things like rend are, right? Because if it's 2 rend on a 5-up save, it's going to be different than if it's 2 rend on a 2-up save. I know that it changes the statistics, so if you are interested in doing your own math and having a conversation about where maybe I valued things incorrectly or where, you know, certain matchups are going to be better or worse for these profiles, feel free to let me know. And also join the Discord where we're discussing lots of different things for this new season. It's quite exciting. Okay, so starting off with our weakest hero, it's without surprise going to be the Kill the Boss with Stabgrot. The Prize Shiv is dealing almost nothing. Boss Hackett doesn't deal very much. We're looking at a 3.08 expected damage against a 4-up save, so not all that much to say here. I don't think anyone is really running the Kill the Boss with Stabgrot. I didn't see it all that much in the previous season with Galatian Champions, so I doubt I'll see it very much now. Up next, there's sort of a 3-way tie between 3 different models. We have the Nashtooth, which is a 7.4 expected damage. The Vulture with a Kiloboss at 7.82 effective or expected damage. And finally, Gobsprak with 6.77 expected damage. So the difference between the Vulture, the Nashtooth, and Gobsprak is only 1 damage between them. Between the Vulture and the Nashtooth, it's less than half a damage. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Nashtooth is 120 points now, and being able to pump out just as much damage as the Vulture for 80 less points, it really shows how the Nashtooth is just high value for its points. Right? It's fast. It's not as fast as the Vulture, but it's pretty fast. The Vulture doesn't, like, he has commanding view, that ability, but that's not a particularly useful ability in our army. The Vulture is a monster. That's a significant buff over an Nashtooth. So when you're looking at your list building, and if you're trying to save some points, like you can save 80 points by downgrading a Vulture to a Nashtooth in either Big Wat or Kruleboyz. That's that's Jaws. That's a Killbow. That's a unit of Hobgrots. That's a unit of Ardboys, right? Like, which is better, a Vulture or a Nashtooth with an Ardboy screen? You know, so pretty good. And Gobsprak can actually deal some pretty decent damage. So I feel like the major difference between Vulture and Gobsprak is Fasten versus Sneaky Miasma. So there's some discussion there about that. But Gobsprak is still going to be pretty, not a super fighty hero, but enough that he can position himself to finish off small units, right, that have come in. Like if there's like 1 model left in a unit, right, he'll be able to clean those things up just as well as a Vulture can. So overall, these 3 models, the difference is relatively small. So that's it's just good to know. Sludge Raker. The reason that I even decided to do this damage comparison is because people kept telling me that, or I kept seeing people running Sludge Raker beasts in their Big Wa lists, and I was just curious about it, and I was asking people about it. I'm like, why do you run a Snatcher Boss? And they're like, oh, like it's relatively quick at 8 move, You know, it has a 4-up save, and lots of the saves in our book are not super high right now. It has like some pretty good damage. So I was like, okay, so I went and looked at it. So if it's at the top of the bracket, it's going to deal an average of 12.24 expected damage versus a 4-up save, and I didn't include his own Sludge Raker aura because I'm pretty sure that it applies to himself. So you might actually get a few more points higher than this, and this was a lot more than I was expecting. So for 290 points, like, it's pretty expensive. You're going to get some pretty good damage, and the monster has 14 wounds, right, and actually can move 8 inches, which is pretty fast for like our orc army. So I'm still kind of debating if this model is going to be really, like, how good it's going to be in Big Wa. The problem with Big Wa is that we covet our hero slots. So if you're running like you know, yeah, like you run out of hero slots pretty quick. A War Chanter, a Wargog, and a Weird Knob, right? And suddenly it's like, well, what else are you going to be running? So the kill bow, like Big Rick's Cruel Shot, I feel is pretty good. Like a 50-point kill bow is value. So, but I feel like I underestimated this model. So, you know, if you're running like something like a Nashtooth, like you can get value out of the aura for other parts of the army, but definitely worth some thinking. Hits pretty hard. But our slappiest hero, no surprise, is our Break-a-Boss on Mire Brute Troggoth. So the Ironbound clubs is where you are really expecting a lot of damage. So at the lowest, you're, you know, I think that when I did this math, I included the by like the goad, like the make the Break-a-Boss mad ability. I can't remember what it's called. The Break-a-Harness ability. I included it at least for 2 extra attacks, right? So you're looking at 11 attacks from him, only 5 of which count for Venom Encrusted. So he's actually surprisingly not a bad Venom Encrusted weapon recipient because he has no rend, right? Sorry, I meant a Swamp Kala Shaman poison recipient because his Bident Goat attack has no rend. So if you're just going to say like, okay, well, you know, it's 2 damage, so I'm going to try to go from, you know, a 1 in 6 chance on these 5 dice to a 1 in 3 chance on these 5 dice to get those mortal wounds through. I feel like that's pretty, like for the heroes that we have, better than most, right? Better than most. But the Ironbound clubs is where you're really going to see the damage come through. So it's anywhere from 8 damage to, 13 damage, 13.33 damage. So you're looking at the model as a whole, anywhere from about 11 to 17 damage. About 11 to 17 damage. So that's at the high end. At the low end, it's about a Snatch-a-Boss. And at the high end, it is 5 more damage than a Snatch-a-Boss. So, and he also works well on his own. Like, he doesn't need any buffs or anything, right? He can hit pretty hard with an all-out attack. You know, his regeneratability is so bad. I really hope that when the Kruleboyz get the next update, that they just get the Troggoth regeneratability, where it's like in every hero phase you just heal. Like, it's not very good. A 50% chance half of the rounds. Like, the regeneratability is not something you can rely upon at all. So the problem with the Break-a-Boss is that he's slow at a 5-inch move. So he's hard to actually. I think he is probably a better counterpunch hero than Sludge Raker. If you're looking for a hero that's going to stand behind some battle line and is going to turn around, jump in, and break stuff, I think the Break-a-Boss is going to be better. The advantage that the Snatch-a-Boss has in that role is his attacks have like a 3-inch range. A couple of them, like Grasping Talons and the Grappling Hook, have a 3-inch range, so he's able to reach over like a unit of Ardboys or something and fight from the other side. Like, if he's within 3, if you're activating him to fight, he's gonna get to fight. So if it's a big crowded area, you know, but the Break-a-Boss is only, all his attacks are only 1, so for him to get in, it's going to be a little bit more work. But if you manage to do that, he's going to hit a lot harder. He's going to hit a lot harder. I was almost curious to see if I overlooked him as a Hoarfrost target. So I'm just going to do that right now. So what we would change is we would change the Bident Goad. It's probably not a good Hoarfrost. So with 0 rend and 2 damage. So 3, deals her damage to mortal wounds. Yeah, like, so it's 3.22. Yeah, 3.32, sorry, or 3.33. So then if we change the rend to 1, we're dealing like half an extra damage. If we're changing it to 2, I mean, it's not an amazing change. Why isn't this changing? It's interesting. The rend isn't updating. That's strange. Well, yeah, but it's not going to change enough damage, I don't think. So, anyway, there you go. So, if you're looking for the slappiest hero in the Kruleboyz army for 180 points, Break-a-Boss is the winner. The question you have to ask yourself in a big WA army is if the Snatcher Boss is worth 110 extra points for what he's going to do. I feel like for 110 extra points, you're losing damage, right? You're losing damage. What you're gaining is mobility and utility. So you have to ask yourself if those 110 points are worth that mobility and utility. Some players have told me that they're using Snatcher Boss as the general for Super Sneaky. You can do that with a Break-a-Boss. He can be your general. You can have Super Sneaky. So it's the aura. So are you actually using the Sludge Raker Beast's aura for other units? And another thing that I should also include in the damage is the Snatch and Grab, or the Expert Snatch and Grab. That's going to deal just some damage. Like, it's effectively damage, right? So you could think of it as like 2 or maybe 3 damage, because you have to roll 2d6 greater than the wounds characteristic. So, I mean, he's a hero grabber, but I don't think you're going to have him in that position. Like, is anyone playing a Snatcher Boss as like a really fighty, aggressive sort of unit? Like, is anybody doing that? I haven't seen lists where I've looked at it and been like, oh, okay, the Snatcher Boss is going to sit there and like really wait and then get in, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Definitely worth thinking about and checking out. Okay, so please, in the comments below, or if you want to join the Discord, in the description below, let me know what you think about this. How do you feel about taking Snatch a Boss or Break a Boss or other Kruleboy heroes in Big WA? Specifically, how do you feel about that? Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like, and why? Please let me know. Until then, like, subscribe, WA.